Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this rifle that you see in my hand and that you saw throughout the intro. This is the BCI Dagger. So obviously it looks pretty cool in terms of the Cerakote job on there. It's sort of a battle-worn Cerakote. It actually comes in 5 different colors, by the way. But BCI is a company that I'm sure some of you guys out there haven't heard of. Some of you who really follow the forums probably have, because what you'll know is that they're a company that's been making parts for other AR companies for ever. Basically, BCI was started as a foundry, I think, in the 1930s. They've been doing castings and forgings for lots of different industries, to include the firearms industries, for decades. They decided to sort of put their own products out since they're already doing a lot of the work anyway. On this particular rifle, I think they make everything besides the barrel, the trigger, and the bolt carrier group. So everything else, of course the furniture, the stock and grip as well, but everything else is actually made by them in-house. And what we're going to do is step outside, see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this little rifle on the range, and then come back in, go over all the different details of it, because there's some interesting stuff going on. And at the end, we'll wrap it up and let you know what we think of the rifle overall.
Now we're going to see what kind of accuracy we can get out of the rifle. We have the target downrange at 100 yards. Rifle sitting in a CTK precision rest. On the rifle is the 5.5 power fixed ACOG. Great optic with great glass and a really nice reticle. So it's a chevron tip, so I can't have an excuse for straying a little bit. I think that's pretty much it. We'll load up some Federal gold medal match. This is the 69 grain stuff, and we'll see how it does. All right. Next up, we'll load some 69 grain Freedom munitions. This stuff here is the hollow point bullet tail stuff. Tends to do pretty well. It's new manufactured, so it's not a remanufactured load. But 2 69 grain loads in a row, so we'll see how they do. And then we have a lighter one after that. One thing I should point out is we do have, I don't know if you can really see it behind me, but we do have some wind coming from behind me. So usually we have a full value wind here. Almost always it's blowing from right to left. Looking downrange anyway, but today it's coming more from behind, so it shouldn't be as much of a factor. So we'll see how we do with the Freedom load here. And one thing I should also point out is that Freedom is offering our viewers here 5% off with the code down at the bottom of your screen. So definitely thanks to Freedom for offering folks that 5% off any of the ammo over there on their site with the Mr. Guns and Gear code. So there's that. Last load we're going to load up is some Gorilla munitions. This is their 55 grain Sierra Blitzkrieg load. Tends to be very accurate, but we'll see how it does with the lighter ammo. One thing I should point out here is that there's kind of a fancy rifle sitting in front of you, but the trigger is only sort of fancy. It's the ALG trigger. So it's a mil-spec style trigger. However, it does have the nickel Teflon coating on there, and that's going to help make the break a little bit cleaner. But the pull weight's about the same as your standard mil-spec, so on my scale it was breaking right at 6 pounds, but it's crisp. And you know, I have no problem with mil-spec triggers. They're very shootable, at least AR mil-spec triggers anyway. So that is what we're using here. No fancy magic. Let's go check them out. With that 5.5 power ACOG, I could see the group, so I knew they were going to be pretty good when I got down here. So here's the Federal 69 grain. We're right at 1.5 inches with that load. Then we came over here. I believe this was the Freedom 69 grain load. Again, right at 1.5 inches with that one. Then the 55 grain Gorilla ammo. And we tightened that one up a good bit. 1 1/8 on that one, not quite an inch center to center. So I would imagine with a little bit of practice, you can get that down a little bit better. But definitely good groups overall, and I'm not going to complain about it, not even a little bit.
Starting out up front, we have the 3-prong flash hider on here. You can see vents a little bit of gas up, a little bit to the sides, and has the closed bottom, so that way you're not going to kick up dirt or dust or anything like that if you're firing from the prone. It has a slight ping to it that some of you may have noticed already throughout the intro, but overall, it does a good job. It's not too pingy like some of them out there, but the beauty of this rifle is it actually comes standard with 3 different muzzle devices. So it comes with this one here, the 3-prong. Mine shipped with this hybrid on here. It's sort of a battle comp inspired hybrid device, so it's going to give you a little bit of compensation, a little bit of muzzle rise and dampening, but there's going to be a little bit more flash and blast than this one. And if you want to go straight up comp, it comes with this compensator as well. This one's actually really lightweight, which I do like for a compensator, but it has those 3 ports there on the sides as well as 2 on top to both mitigate the felt recoil as well as the muzzle rise. It's going to be loud and you're going to have some flash though, so it sort of depends what you want. But what I like is that it comes with all 3 of them, and you get the option as the shooter to pick which one you want. Moving back from the muzzle device, we do have a Faxon Firearms 1 1/8 twist barrel on there. It's 4150 with their nitrided finish on there. You guys saw had pretty good accuracy out there overall. The profile on the barrel is nice as well. It's not, you know, like a government profile that doesn't make any sense. It's not an M4 profile that doesn't make any sense. It's kind of a nice medium profile all the way down. It's got the 7.5-inch gas journal on there with the low profile gas block. It is a steel nitrided gas block, and they do dimple it and then use a thread locker on there. So it's not pinned, but they do dimple it and set it with high temp thread locker. So certainly no complaints on that overall. Continuing to move back, we're going to see this little thing right here. So you do get an actual vertical grip that comes with it. This is the CAA one, and it comes also with this 1913 M-lock rail to attach to your handguards as well. So you do get your vertical grip straight from the factory with it. Has the spot if you want to run a tape switch on there, and it also has storage on the bottom if you want to put anything in there. The handguard that vertical grip is mounted to is BCI's in-house made M-lock handguards. This is the 15-inch version that comes in the Dagger. We have our quick detach points here at the 3 and 9 o'clock position, both all the way out at the front and back here towards the rear. Me personally, I tend to prefer the ones in the rear, but we have M-lock slots all the way down at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position. And one thing I like about it is that it has large holes cut in the 45-degree offset. Now, if they put M-lock slots in there, I'd be okay with that too, but I like the way they try to lighten it. But this handguard's not super light. Like, so for instance, with one that's well known, like the Midwest Industries, that's definitely going to be a little bit lighter weight. This one here is 6061 T6 aluminum. It's forged, and it has a little bit of beef to it, both back here around where it mounts on the barrel nut, I should say, and just the whole thing overall. So it feels very solid in the hand. We have the 1913 rail on top. Of course, this has the battle-worn Cerakote finish, so you're not going to have any T marks on there, but it's 1913 spec, so if you want to run irons, lasers, anything like that, you can do so. I should point that out. The rifle does not come with a set of iron sights, but it does come with the red dot optic that you see here. This is the Vortex Spark 2 red dot, which does come incidentally with caps. I just always pull them off because they tend to annoy me, but this is a 2 MOA dot optic. It's got between 3 and 5,000 hour battery life, depending on which setting you use it on. It's got a decently crisp dot for a budget. Comes with the mount itself, which this particular one here has the riser and will give you a 1/3 lower co-witness when you're running standard AR iron sights. We have half MOA adjustments here for the windage and elevation, and then we also have our push button on, as well as intensity adjustments on there. So this optic has been very well received, has a very good reputation out there. It's a few $100s by itself, comes with the rifle standard. Just like the upper receiver, the lower is made of forged 7075 T6 aluminum. It's made in-house by BCI, so doing it all themselves, which certainly is nice overall in terms of quality control. We have the opened up gloved winter trigger guard there, so that way you're not going to scrape your finger on the bottom if you're shooting for long periods of time, or if you're out shooting with gloves on. Basically on the inside, pretty standard stuff overall. One thing I do notice though is it doesn't have that stupid Colt little insert on the back, so if one day you wanted to drop in and make it full auto, you could do that, which I certainly like. The magwell has a slight flare to it, but BCI, if you're watching, I would like to see that opened up a little bit. If you ever make a Gen 2, a little bit more flare would help. It's not a problem, but it would just be a nice to have in my opinion. We do have an ambidextrous safety that comes standard with it. I like that safety a lot. It's very large. It's very easy to manipulate, clicks into place positively with either hand that you're operating it. So definitely a fan of that. The pistol grip is the Hogue rubber overmolded pistol grip. It's got the finger grooves in there. I know some folks really like those, some folks don't. If you do, then it's good, I suppose. If not, then maybe it isn't, but it feels comfortable in my hand. I have no issue with it at all. The receiver extension there is a forged 7075 T6 extension, 6-position adjustable. It does also have the dry film lubricant in there, so mil spec in every way. On the back side here, we have the BCI quick detach sling mounting system, and the actual castle nut itself is not staked. I actually talked to BCI about that. They said that they think folks are just going to be changing their stuff out every now and then, so what they do instead is use a thread blocking compound on there to make sure it doesn't vibrate off. Under strings of fire, I've had zero issues with it. It has stayed put, so I suppose it's not the worst thing in the world. I know some folks who want it staked are definitely going to stake it themselves, and you certainly could do that should you choose to do so. The stock is the Hogue overmolded stock. I actually have a full review of the stock. I like it. I think it's an underrated stock. It's very comfortable to shoot with the rubber up there. Some folks with beards, I've heard, don't like it. Even when I've had my facial hair grown out a little bit, I've not noticed it to be a problem, but take that for what it's worth. I like the fact that it's got a few quick detach points on there for depending on how you want to set your rifle up here, up front on both sides, and then 2 in the rear here. We have the nice padded stock on the back too. I've actually used this on a few 308 rifles, and it does seem to help soak up a little bit of the recoil, but adjusts easily. You don't get a lot of slop in it. There's a little bit, but not bad at all. And mil spec in terms of dimensions on the extension. So if you wanted to swap it out with something else, you could, but I personally see no need to. The charging handle that comes with the rifle is BCI's enhanced charging handle. It's forged 7075 T6 aluminum. It's got the hard coat anodizing on there. And we do have this large latch on there to allow you to manipulate it a little bit more easily there. Great if you have malfunctions, or some folks just load the rifles using the charging handle. So if you choose to do that, it will allow you to easily do it. It's sort of a medium-sized latch overall compared to some of the competitors out there. So you know, some guys don't want to run the huge ones because it'll get snagged on gear. This one's sort of in between the mil-spec one and some of the larger ones out there, but certainly works just fine. The bolt carrier group is a Azimuth Technologies enhanced bolt carrier group. So there are some kind of interesting things going on with it. These are used by several companies, including BCI. I know Ranger Proof uses them, and there's many others out there. So they've been out for a while and have been in use for a while. They're a thoroughly tested product, and I think it's kind of got some cool stuff going on. So we'll just kind of show you here real quick. This is a mil-spec one. And move this stuff out of the way, and you'll see it's kind of cut a little bit differently. You can see here on the back, this is actually radius down a little bit here, and also we have a flat portion milled there versus the traditional round all the way. And then if you look here on the sides, you'll see sort of the same thing, whereas this is rounded out to fit in your upper receiver. This is radius down. So what that does is a few things. Number one, it reduces the points of friction throughout your travel of your bolt carrier group. They say it also reduces the tilt. I've never noticed tilt to be a big deal on the DI guns, but they say it does. But one thing it definitely does is reduces the points of friction as it travels back. That's blatantly obvious as you look at it, but it's an 8620 carrier overall. It's got the black nitride finish on there, so the Rockwell hardness is going to be very tough. We have our grade 8 fasteners on there. It has decent staking overall. The metal's touching metal, which I suppose is exactly what you're looking for. But I think the radius cuts on there that lighten it up a little bit, so a little bit less mass coming back. Will give you a little bit softer recoil impulse, but it's not so light like some of the lightweight ones out there compared to your basic one. So that is the carrier itself. We're moving on to the bolt. The bolt itself is made of 9310 case hardened steel. And one thing that's a little bit different that they do on these than some of the other bolt carrier groups out there is that they actually do the hardening procedure and then they grind down the actual lugs themselves as well as the rear portion here of the tail to make sure it fits to very, very, very tight tolerances, because the heat, of course, will change that a little bit, and they grind it down to make sure it's back within their specs that they do. How much that affects performance, I can't say. I can tell you I've had 0 malfunctions out of the gun overall, so that's about as good as you could ask for it. The actual extractor here, if you take a look, has the O-ring on there, but does not have the insert in there. So a lot of folks out there will want to run just the O-ring, some will want to run just the insert. In my experience, particularly with mid-length rifles, as long as you have one in there, it'll run just fine. Now the bolt itself is both HP and MP tested, it is shot peened as well, so really can't complain about the treatment you get on there, and it's certainly proven and has worked well so far. Those are most of the details of the rifle. One thing I left out is actually why you guys are seeing this video being released today. It's being released in conjunction with the NRA show, and BCI actually over at their booth, if you guys are at the show, you can go over there and register to win one of these. So they're going to be giving one away there. I'm not sure on the actual color that they're giving away. I don't know if you guys get to pick. I'm not 100% sure, but if you guys are at the NRA show this week, definitely go down there and check it out. If you guys are watching this video after the NRA show, sorry you couldn't have made it. But this rifle here, I think we mentioned earlier, has had a grand total of 0 malfunctions. We have just under 1,000 rounds through it, so you can't really hope for any better performance than that. Both suppressed, unsuppressed, regardless of what muzzle device we've had on there. It's worked just fine. We ran it with a few different optics, as you guys saw, different grips out here out front, different lights, stuff like that. Either way, it's had 0 issues. So price point on this one is, I believe, street price is $1,465. It's available only from Copper Customs, at least as of this video right now when I'm making it. I haven't seen it anywhere else. So I'll put a link down below in the video description for you guys to check that out and go over and pick one up if you're interested. But the price point's a little bit high, I think, but not really when you think about it, because it does come with everything that we talked about. You get 3 muzzle devices, the vertical grip, the optic that do come with it, and obviously it's a very high quality components, and it has the nice Cerakote job on there that would cost you a few $100s if you wanted to do it you know, on your own or have somebody else do it. So when you kind of break down everything you get with it, that seems like a very fair price in my opinion. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about this rifle, BCI, anything like that, you can always post down below in the comment section. You can also post over at my Facebook page. As always, that's generally the best way to get in touch with me. I don't always see the messages here on YouTube. Over there, I think I do anyway, at least as far as I know. So we're going to wrap it up with that. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we hope to see you in the next video.